Hey guys, pretty much everything on this channel is for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. So here is a draft of the Chinese regulations regarding illegal fundraising, aka ICOs. We'll see what comes of this and what that means for price. In general, I think China will overregulate as they tend to do, and that tends to cause bearish reactions and for things like, in this case, Ethereum and any Chinese ICO. Keep that in mind. It also validates ICOs that are, above board and within the limits of the law and regulations. So things like NEO and may become super bullish. If we look at the pending hard fork coming for Ethereum, I can just think of these as improvements. I don't know enough to know whether any of this stuff really matters, but in general, if there's changes coming and there's a consensus, I'm just going to assume there are improvements. This hard fork is due late September. The regulations appear to be coming to a close around late September, so maybe there'll be some yin-yang thing going on with regulations and the hard fork. If you want to read more about the hard fork, I'll post some more links. Taking a quick look at market cap, Ethereum is sitting at $32 billion, around $350, which I think is a fair price for both buyers and sellers here. Let's take a look a little further. You can see South Korea is clearly leading this by volume with USD and China, but again, Asian countries love their Ethereum, love their crypto in general, and Bitfinex is among the USD leaders. Polo is the ETH BTC leader. Going back to my previous video on Ethereum, honestly didn't even realize how clickbaity this was, the title, but it worked because it got 17k views, which is the most of any video I've made so far on this channel. Like seriously, I'm just naive. I was like, oh, it's probably going to 500, let's make the title. I generally just try to avoid clickbait because I don't really care about the views, but it's just interesting that that really got a lot of views. So maybe it was just right place, right time, I don't know. So again, going back to my video on those charts, I was looking back at the targets and I was talking about this Adam and Eve with a 397 target, which hit nicely. You can see the measured move here was 397 and the fib extension off the Eve was 394. I rarely use like a 2618 off the Eve to measure like a target, so this is kind of weird that it just happened to work out like that. The other thing is if we look at the fib from the Atom or neckline down to the bottom, you can see we respected the 1618 and then took off from there, and now we're bouncing on the 1618. Kind of a weird spot up here. You can see it's essentially back to all-time high in USD. And I'll look at the ratio at the very end. The other thing I was talking about in the previous video was this cup and handle, which looks even better than it did then now. And again, you can see if we just do some weird measuring, basically just the horizontal resistance to the bottom, something that makes sense, and project that upwards, we get around 674, the 1618 from the top to bottom, around 550. So this gives you a nice $100 zone where we should see resistance past all-time high. If we look at the pullback, you can see it already hit the 786. The less this pulls back, the more bullish it is. It has plenty of room for more pullback. So people always ask me, can I enter these chart patterns early? Of course you can. The risk is exponentially greater. Where's your stop going to be? What's the plan if it breaks the 50%? Yada yada. But yeah, of course you can enter now. This actually looks pretty decent. The volume isn't there. It's more of a V than a smooth U, which is what the cup and handle folk like to see, but it's good enough for me. It's crypto. Things get weird. So yeah, again, 550 to 650 target. Pretty easily there. So for the past few days, I've been watching this rising wedge. I got out around 338, 348, somewhere around there. Super early, just based on being scared to death, PBOC, PTSD, that the regulations were coming and this price is going to sell off, and my entry, I have entries down here, but I had entries at 300s. I didn't want to lose all that. So I sold weak hands, I know. There was also this, which broke up. Again, I mentioned in the Bitcoin video, rising wedges love to break up in crypto. I don't know why. They just do. There was a giant one in like December on Bitcoin as well that I was sure that was going to break down, and it broke up, which is fine, but just super interesting. And then, there's arguably this greater rising wedge that's breaking down now, but no one I haven't siseen anybody draw this out. It's just kind of retrospective at this point. From tip to tail, nose to stern, it hit the 50%, which isn't technically a fib, but we just call it a fib, and is bouncing now. Nice dragonfly here on the 4 hour. I'm in no rush to get back in, and I'll tell you why. But overall, on the giant pitchfork and its doubled cloud on the daily, everything looks great. Again, buy zone, highly probable target, sell zone. Keep it simple. So based on fibs and these diags, you know, again, 600, this value keeps popping up. If this pitchfork continues to be respected, we're looking at 877-ish or greater, you know, whatever the diag is at the time. I could see $900 Ethereum. $900 Ethereum would be $9,000 Bitcoin, roughly, you know, at 0.1. As far as cloud is concerned, you can see the entry was all the way back here, 285, based on the TK cross above the cloud. Cloud was bullish, lagging span was above cloud, above price. You can see the pullback target around 277, which could happen. It's at a weird spot right now, again, a large sell-off. The bottom of this diag from the pitchfork, so we'll see what happens from here, but this is a zone, a bounce zone, should this support not hold. Going to B-bands on the daily, we did touch the median, the 20 MA, which is what you want to see on a trend continuation, kind of like the key June bounce equivalent. You can see there wasn't a div here, but pulled back violently anyway. We were walking up the bands, things were good, or overbought in general. I don't really know, honestly. There were plenty of reasons to sell off much sooner than it did here. If we go to the 4 hour cloud, on a previous tweet I was saying, you know, if you got in somewhere around this 4 hour TK cross down at 285 or whatever, you're waiting for the recross to exit. But you can quickly see that the recross is too slow for this market, and that's why, again, you use stops that are intelligent. So if I'm comparing Bill Williams fractals 4 hour ETH USD, again, I'm in somewhere around 285. These fractals keep moving up. These are where my stops are, okay? So if I was still in, I would have been stopped out at least at 370 on fractals. And if you compare that to Heikin-Ashi, same thing. You just keep moving these up anytime you see a long wick or a momentumless candle. So really I'm looking for this doji type candle for a momentumless long wick. This is probably good enough, but you know, completely subjective and up to you how high you want to move your stop, depending on market conditions at the time. And here's the hourly currently. You can see we're getting a descending volume, bull div, all over the place here. This is inverted head and shoulders in the making, or 3 drives, more likely than not, inverted head and shoulders, shoulder, head, shoulder, target's going to be back to the previous level around 400. Going to ETH BTC in general, if I'm in an altcoin, I'm just assuming I'm losing money if I'm not in Bitcoin when Bitcoin is pumping. Not always the case, obviously, but in general, you can see here the ratio is just ranging, so you're losing money a little bit, you know, if you're out of Bitcoin and in Ethereum. Just my take on it. And as far as the cloud is concerned, on the ratio singled cloud, this is daily singled cloud, no clear actionable signal for a long yet, still below the cloud. You want to wait till price is above the cloud to take a long with some certainty here for probability of continuation. That's all I have for today on Ethereum. Well, let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe. Hit me up on Twitter, Telegram, and happy trading.